And joining us now, California Congressman Nunes, member of President-elect Donald Trump's transition team, the executive committee, and also chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Chairman, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Any surprise to you that General Mattis, although it seems he has wide praise across the aisle and all up and down, the ranks, inside and outside the military, there are those detractors who are now coming forward immediately with questions about his ability?
Yeah, it's a little shocking. Donald Trump's transition team and his folks asked me shortly after the election who I thought would be the best Secretary of Defense. And they asked to go out and recruit the very best people. And I said without a doubt that Gen Mattis would be the very best person. And I think he has broad cross-section of both Republicans and Democrats that support him. And I think those that do not support him are probably just playing politics at this point.
Well, what do you make of Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's discussion that she's going to oppose him, this waiver that he has to get from Congress if he is going to move into this cabinet position, and that she may push for a 60-vote threshold, which of course would mean then every Republican would have to stick together, but Democrats would have to cross over, a handful of them as well, in order to get him across the finish line?
Well, I would say it's a rather pathetic because she has not yet heard General Mattis testify before the Senate, so he should at least get that chance. We should have a debate in the Senate in terms of whether or not he should get a waiver, just like we will have in the House. But my guess is in the House of Representatives this will overwhelmingly pass. And if the Senate really wants to stop a four-star general who is one of the most revered generals in our nation's history, and at least in modern history, at a time that's very, very difficult overseas, especially in the Middle East, and a man who's been right. He was right on Iran. He was right on Iraq. He was right on the problems that we were going to face with al-Qaeda's growth in Syria, which became ISIS, and he was right in drawing too many troops down in Afghanistan would lead to problems. So, I hope that the Senate just sticks with the facts, and Donald Trump asked us to go out and find the very best person for the job, and that's what we did. And I think that Donald Trump made a very, very wise decision in selecting General Mattis to be the next Secretary of Defense.
There are hotspots around the world. There are domestic issues as well within the Pentagon that if he is confirmed, he's going to have to deal with right away, from budgetary issues to dealing with ISIS. What do you think is the most pressing concern as chair of the House Intel Committee? You know more than we do.
Well, there's some, just quickly, China, Russia, the jihadist problem, Iran and North Korea that are trying to get nuclear weapons and other types of large-scale weapons of mass destruction. And then between all that, you have the cyber activity that all of those bad actors can use on and off.
Listen, I want to make sure we have you as well because you're part of the Trump transition team. One of his very bold initiatives, there's been a lot of talk in the House and with House leadership as well about overhauling the tax code. A lot of folks think, they're giving him applause for what happened with Carrier yesterday and saving those 1,100 jobs, but say that getting to the tax code, a much tougher, much more involved process, would be what you really need to be able to do this more broadly.
Well, part of my advice to the Trump team has been to focus on two issues at the highest level. One is the tax code, because we need to reform the tax code in order to fix our economic problems. Secondly, focus on health care. Let's reform, replace and repeal Obamacare, but make health care better for the American people. But specifically, like you heard Donald Trump talk about last night in Cincinnati, he talked about how the tax code was unfair, how other countries are able to charge a tax and at the same time they're shipping stuff into our country without the tax, while it puts our manufacturers, local manufacturers, at a disadvantage. And so I'm excited about Donald Trump trying to repair the tax code, and I think that it's going to be very, very difficult, and they're going to have to focus on it, but we have a lot of people that are going to help them.
All right. Chairman Nunes, thanks for dropping by the Kelly File. Good to see you tonight, sir.
Thanks, Shannon.